Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Virginia Science Olympiad 2023-2024 annual meeting and report. My name is Emily Owens, and I am the VASO State Director. And again, thank you so much for spending your Saturday morning with us, hearing about all of the things we want to share with you about what VASO did this year and about what is to come for next season. So first want to start off by acknowledging our returning and new board members. So thank you to those of you that voted through our portal system for we have 2 new board members, and then we had some returning members as well. So our 2024-2026 members include returning members Alan Borhauer and Karen Emmons and Leah Pulick. And we have 2 new board members that are joining us, Carl Minton and Alex Raggi. Alex is a coach in VASO from Tandem Friends. Carl, you may have recognized from doing wind power for us this season. And I'm sure that Alan, Karen, and Leah are familiar faces for those of you that have been doing VASO with us for a while. We also wanted to acknowledge our members who are in the middle of their term, just so that you are aware of the full composition of the board. So our 3 other members who are in the middle of their term are Catherine Davis from Blacksburg High School, Andrew Skinner, and Ambu Vijay, who is going to talk, who is one of our Division A representatives on the board. And then you have me, the state director. So we are excited to bring on Carl and Alex and continue the work that we're putting forward with you all today about what we see for VASO in the future. We do have 1 board member who we are saying goodbye to, and that is our chair of the board, Dawn Tom Nguyen. You might know Dawn Tom from her many roles that she has taken through her time with VASO, even before she was a board member. She has been an event writer and supervisor for us since 2012. For many years, she did Mission Possible, and that's probably one of the more visible roles. She also has been doing appeals for VASO for the past few seasons and has been a board member since 2015. You also might recognize her from some social media posts because she's actually a Science Olympiad alum. She attended the national tournament when she competed, and she's just been so wonderful to have on the VASO board. And so we are sad to see her leave the VASO board, but she's going to be sticking around and doing some VASO stuff for us. Her contributions and her time on the board have been so valuable with really helping us through, you know, all the COVID years, and also just like this expansion that we've been seeing both in terms of our partnerships with other organizations, as well as really, you know, pushing our thinking about how we can expand outside of Northern Virginia. So I've really valued having Dawn Tom on the board. And so because of that, the rest of the VASO board and I would like to share that we are awarding Dawn Tom a Distinguished Service Award for her contributions to VASO. So thank you, Dawn Tom, for everything that you've done for us, and I'm looking forward to still doing VASO things with you next season. All right, our main setup for the rest of this annual report, we are going to break this into Division A and then Division BC and reporting out about our respective seasons. So Anbu, would you like to talk about Division A? And I will gladly control the slides for you.
Okay, I guess I have to unmute myself. Okay, so we had a great tournament here this time. So thanks to Langley and TJ's student volunteers who helped us run these tournaments. We had about 2 tournaments, and both were held at Langley High School. We had about 852 students participating this year, and they came from 31 schools. So both Loudoun County and Fairfax County schools were represented. So essentially, it was a it was an awesome year. And we had a great mix of events, both building and writing. And we had a lot of fun running it and seeing kids have fun as well. So talking about the demographic composition, we actually had 51.9% female. So that's quite a great thing to see. We would like to see more female be represented there. And can I have the next slide, please? And we continue to have more Asian participation. We would like to see the other categories to improve as well. And that's pretty much it. And when we say first, let's see, grade 3 was represented. 30.9% was grade 3, grade 4 was 40.1, and grade 5 was 29. And we do know most of the fifth graders try to participate in Division B as soon as they finish 2 years of Division A participating in Division A tournaments. So, and first year participants were at 73%. As compared with the second year and the third year participants. Again, so we're back to in-person this time. So as I said before, we held 2 in-person tournaments at Langley High School. And thanks to the Langley High School Science Olympiad team, they did have a lot of student volunteers coming in from TJ as well. So it was a great year. And talking about next year, the tentative tournament dates are October 26th, November 2nd, 9th, and the 16th. The rules manual has been published already, and it's on the website. And the interest form is also available. And the interest form is the first step of registration. So please do fill the interest form so that we have all the details and we can reach out to you as and when news comes up. And we also have something exciting happening next year. I would love Alan to share that information.
So we will be expanding our dates to 4 dates, and the biggest reason is that a new initiative from Fairfax County Public Schools that the Title I will be funding all Title I elementary schools to have at least one team in Science Olympiad competition. So we are expecting possibly as many as 47 new teams. We don't know. They don't have to go for A. They could go for B. So time will tell on that. So we are, expanding, almost doubling or more than doubling what we had last year for schools that will participate. So that's our exciting news. The other news is there will be a new coaches meeting. This is set because so many new coaches coming on. We need to have extra new coach meetings. So one date is already set. It's August 13th. It'll be from 4 to 5 or longer, depending on how many questions come up. It will be hybrid. We will have a physical space for us to be at, but those who can't be at that space at that time can participate via Zoom. And then, as Ambu said, our rules manual is out for the fall, and our intent form is out for the fall. They're both on the VASA website under the Elementary Science Olympiad. These are our events that we've decided upon. And we're also looking for anybody out there who wants to participate in working on the 2025 events committee and choosing events and so forth. We'd like to sort of get that event table out as early as December this year, so that people have a chance to work through it through the year.
Okay, thank you so much, Alan and Ambu. We are so excited for the growth that we are going to be seeing in Division A through that Fairfax County Title I initiative. So that kind of is starting off what is going to be really the theme of the rest of this report is expansion. So very excited for that. So I am going to go through some of the similar stuff with our Division B and C statistics for our season for you before we turn our attention to what lies ahead. So first, here is the full picture of the VASO Division B and C history in terms of our registration. Our registration was completely consistent, exactly the same as it was in Division C this past season, with a slight decrease in Division B, but that seems to be matching with like a delay in national trend, we think, in response to the virtual pandemic years. But we're still quite large as a Division B group, and hoping that we will see that continue to grow, especially with that FCPS Title I initiative. They're elementary schools, but as you may know, in Virginia, elementary schools can compete in Division B because we include grades 5 through 8. So our 5th and 6th grade elementary schoolers can do that. So we may see some of those Title I schools field Division B teams instead of Division A, or even in addition to. For context about how big we are as an organization, this is the total membership across the country for Science Olympiad. So you can see Virginia is listed as 171 teams. So this is B and C combined. We are, I believe, the 11th largest program in the country. So you can see how we stack up relative to other states. And that's notable because that influences our bids to nationals. So every year, 60 teams compete in each division at the national tournament. And so sending 2 teams in a division is dependent on our size year to year with those registration numbers. Those are the numbers that they use to actually determine how many bids a particular state gets. They do separate it in the bidding process, though, B and C. So even though the previous picture showed them combined, it is a separate process for B and C. So in Division B, this year we were 10th biggest in the United States. That allowed us to once again send 2 Division B teams. We knew that going into our state tournament, which was very exciting. And so Longfellow and Cooper once again represented us at the national tournament, which was at Michigan State this year on Memorial Day weekend. And in Division C, it's funny, this slide is literally like identical to what I had to say last year, because we were once again 11th biggest in the country for Division C, which was not eligible for 2 bids initially, just like last season. So we knew coming from our state tournament that we were sending 1 Division C team, which was Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. As happened last year, another state declined their bid, and so we were then invited to send a 2nd team, which was once again Langley High School. So really, really exciting that we had 4 teams representing at Michigan State. Longfellow placed 7th in the country. So that was phenomenal. And every one of our teams had at least like 1 medal in an event. So every school got to be called to the stage. So it was real wonderful Virginia representation, and I know that they had a great time. So congrats to those 4 schools. You represented Virginia well, and we're really proud. Just to put it out there, because it feels like this has happened now for the past few years in Virginia, but it's never a guarantee that we will get to ultimately send 2 teams in each division. So it's calculated every year. We'll see what happens next year. We're hoping that our registration numbers and our school participation will continue to increase, and we will, continue to get to send multiple teams in divisions, but time will tell. In terms of the number of schools who did participate in Division B and C this year, this graphic is notable because it relates to our continued desire to expand beyond Northern Virginia, specifically Fairfax County. Historically, VASO started in Fairfax County, and so that is one of many reasons why that has been one of our larger areas. But also, you can see that interestingly this year, I think for the first time ever, we had a 50-50 split. Actually, last year was about the same, but between FCPS and non-FCPS schools. So we love that we have so many Fairfax County Public Schools joining us, and we're excited to have more through this Title I initiative, but we're also wanting to maintain and increase the number of schools outside of Fairfax County that are participating. Related to that, we have our VASO outreach initiative that I wanted to spotlight again this year. This is an initiative that specifically is for Division B and C schools that are outside of Northern Virginia. So they can't be in, Alexandria, Arlington, Falls Church, Fairfax, or Loudoun. And it's an initiative that will help pay registration costs for those schools starting programs. Last year, we had Christiansburg High School join us as our first team under this outreach initiative. They came back for a second year, and so some of their costs were covered for the second year through this. But then we had 4 new schools join us under this initiative. Albemarle High School, who actually had a team a number of years ago, but a long enough gap that they were coming back. Verina High School outside of Richmond. Cave Spring from Roanoke, and St. Patrick Catholic School from Norfolk. So we were so excited that we had so many more schools taking advantage of this opportunity and joining us. And we had a really great time having them come to our tournament. So 3 of these 4 I actually got to chat with who when they came to their regional tournaments up in Northern Virginia. I know Cave Spring attended the Virginia Tech regional. So excited for that growth, hoping to see more schools get to hop on this initiative next year. Let's talk a little bit about who our competitors are. So like Division A, we have a pretty even split between male and female students participating, which is wonderful for a STEM organization. We highlight this every year because it is so important to us, both VASO and nationally, that we have just as many girls doing this STEM competition. So really excited to have that continued in our demographic data. Along with that, I wanted to highlight that there was an article that was posted pretty recently, and it was shared on our social media, and National shared it as well, about how Science Olympiad's unique format increases female participation. So a coach in California who actually just got her PhD in education did her dissertation on young women in STEM, specifically in Science Olympiad. And I just wanted to highlight this because it was just like so powerful to me and echoed the experiences that I feel like I've had with my teams in the past about why we see girls wanting to do Science Olympiad. And it's about the collaboration. It's about building that confidence through a supportive group in that safe space, exploring together with your teammates, topics that might have otherwise felt like outside of their comfort zone. And so I think these are all direct reasons for why we see such strong young women representation in Science Olympiad. And it's something that I highlight to any person that I talk to about VASO and Science Olympiad in general. So we love to see VASO's contributions to that mirroring, what we see nationally in such a supportive competition. Some other things I wanted to highlight, just like in Division A, we had an increase this year in Black and Hispanic student participation. And, we're constantly trying to reach more school communities, more student groups. And so I think that is showing in our numbers. But this is our breakdown for this year. And then in terms of our participant grade level distribution, this is Division B, which covers grades 5 through 8. We actually had significant growth relative to the other grades in grade 6. So my hope, and I think that's shown in some of the next data I'll highlight, that these are 5th graders who did it last year that were continuing on. So stronger elementary numbers in Division B. And I imagine that's also in part because of the strength of our Division A program that they want to continue. Here's our Division C, grades 9 through 12. You can see that we have a healthy group of seniors who continue to do Science Olympiad. Many of them have done this for multiple years, and want to cap off their senior years with it. Related to that, this is our new and returning participants. So a little less than 50% of our students this year in Division B and C were brand new, had never done Science Olympiad before, and that does span all grade levels. We had people who were, of course, new in 5th grade, and we had people who were new as 12th graders. In the 3+ year category, that's, of course, the thing that we like to see the most, which is they do it and they want to come back. So over a quarter of our students have competed for 3 or more years. And in particular, when I was looking at the data, there's at least one student who said that they've done it for 10 years. So they have done it from grade 3 all the way through grade 12, which is just wonderful. And we see a number of students who are in that like 5, 6, 7 years as well, that they do Science Olympiad and they want to come back again. In terms of our tournaments this year, we had 74 Division B teams, 44 Division B schools, and then our 94 Division C teams and 46 Division C schools. The Division C numbers, if you notice, is a little bit different than what was reported for registration. The difference in that number from 94 to 97 is that we do have a few teams that registered for invitational only teams. That means that they already had 3 regional teams and then just added more to take more students to other competitions that are not run by VASOs. So might be out of state tournaments or, local invitationals that other places run, but they have more than 3 teams worth of students that wanted to do Science Olympiad, and so they pay an extra registration fee to do that. But so only 94 of them competed in our regionals. All of our regionals were in person this year. We were thrilled to return to that. And we had 4 regionals. So we started off with our Centerville regional. So thank you to Centerville for hosting. This was their first time and they did a great job. We had a split of 40 teams, B and C, at that regional. And then the following weekend, we were gearing up for what was going to be our very first 2 regionals on the same day. It was supposed to be Virginia Tech and Mary Washington on February 17th. And there had unfortunately been some major forecasts for snow in the Northern Virginia area that had a lot of our area school districts canceling. And so including delays in Fairfax County, a cancellation in Loudoun County. It ended up not really being as big of a snow event as they thought the day before, but it did impact us enough that our Mary Washington regional was delayed and had to move locations. But the Virginia Tech regional went well on February 17th. It was smaller, but it was important to us because it's those teams that we see expanding in that Southwest Virginia area, including our new teams that I mentioned, like Christiansburg, who was in year 2, Cave Spring, as well as some others. But notably, that meant that when we have 2 regionals on the same day, not all of the VASO people can be in the same place. In fact, there was very little. It was 1 VASO, 2 VASO people down there. So it was a great experiment for us, and Virginia Tech did an amazing job. And so that's going to be definitely playing into our plans for the future. But so you'll see that the Mary Washington Regional did become the Lake Braddock Regional. Shout out to Lake Braddock for being willing to host on such relatively short notice. They did a great job as well. So that was our snow date regional on March 2nd. And Fairfax's regional, our largest regional of the year, 61 teams in B and C on February 24th. We then had our state tournament at UVA once again. And we had 45 schools participating in full bids, 22 in B, 23 in C. Plus, we introduced a new way to participate in the state tournament this year through our gold bids. So if you weren't aware of what our gold bids were this year, it was a new structure that we added on, and we were very excited about for this season after we had heard of other states doing this. Essentially, gold medal winners of regional events, if their team did not qualify as a whole to the state tournament, did get to compete at the state level as like exhibition teams. We had 11 gold bids, 7 in B and 4 in C, so across 11 different events. And I believe 10 out of the 11 did actually like accept their bids and come participate at the state tournament. Many of them winning medals as exhibition teams in those events. And so it was really cool to see that we got, to expand the state experience to some new teams, smaller teams, developing teams, to give them that taste of state and to highlight their accomplishments and abilities. So that was a highlight for me definitely this year. Some other celebrations. So first, a lot of these pictures that you're seeing in this presentation come from our social media coordinator, Kira Emmons, as well as our photographer who did a number of tournaments for us, Patrick Killeran. And so thank you to them for getting all the visual stuff that Vaso gets to use all year, including this picture. So a celebration, just like we had last year, we continued our relationship with Northrop Grumman. They had continued to award us a grant to be able to help cover some of the costs for school registration for schools that have a high economically disadvantaged percentage in their population. So we had a $5,000 grant. Once again, to be used for that. This allowed us to reduce registration costs for those teams by 50 or 90%, depending on their level. We had 15 schools able to take advantage of the grant across all divisions. So we had some in A, B, and C. Multiple of these schools actually also field multiple teams. So a pretty significant reach for the impact of this. And we look forward to continuing to offer discounts with Northrop Grumman support next year. Just so that you can kind of see it visually across our divisions, these are the proportions of schools that earned the discount. So we had 7 schools earn the be awarded the 90% discount based on their economically disadvantaged percentage. 8 schools were given the 50% discount relative to 85% of our schools, which based on their numbers were paid full price for registration. But it was definitely the most. We've had the Northrop Grumman grant for a few years. We've used the most of it that we have this year compared to others because we had more schools being eligible, and so giving them that opportunity to compete has been really important to us and to Northrop Grumman. Some other support, I wanted to shout out our university support. This includes University of Mary Washington welcoming us back for regionals, even though the snow stopped us, and UVA with their Engineering Student Council making our state tournament possible. And then another big one is our alumni support and university support from Virginia Tech. The Science Olympiad at Virginia Tech group, once again, absolutely phenomenal. Could not have done this season without them. They, like I mentioned, ran our first essentially independent regional and did a great job. They also ran an invitational because that's how much it matters to them to like give more students, especially in that area, the Science Olympiad experience. So they ran a Division C invitational. A number of them also came up to UVA for state to run events for us. We had alumni from Virginia Tech, UVA, and many other places as test writers and event supervisors. We had alumni at every single VASO tournament. And then UVA, in addition to the Engineering Student Council, we also had a strong alumni group from them with event supervising. So thank you so much to all of our alum who continue to want to be a part of Science Olympiad even after they are no longer competitors. It has made our efforts in the past few years possible, including the virtual support and now with the heavy in-person support that you all give. And so in particular with SO at VT, wanted to highlight that we did give a couple Volunteers of the Year awards out, including to Thomas Liu, who was the president of SO at VT and really spearheaded the efforts of SO at VT to partner with VASO and to do a lot of this work to bring those tournaments to Virginia Tech. And so thank you, Thomas, and the SOVT group for all of that. We also have 2 other Volunteers of the Year that I wanted to highlight. One of them is a Science Olympiad alum. That is Jason Kim, who is a Langley alum. You can see him in this picture with his former coach, Leah Pulick. Jason has run events for us for 10 years. He always tries to make it out to at least one of our tournaments, if not more. And so you probably recognize him as a building event supervisor. And he was running flight for us this year at state. So thank you to Jason, who has done so much for VASO in event supervising and beyond. And then on the right, we have Chris Waters, another one of our longtime volunteers. Chris was not a Science Olympiad alum, but it just shows you the power of Science Olympiad and this VASO group that he just volunteered one year to come help out at the tournament and has stuck around ever since, running so many different events for us. And this year he was running one of our vehicle events at state. He also did it at some other regional tournaments for us. And we cannot do any of this work without these volunteers like this, whether they were hooked in school with participating or just their love of STEM. And so thank you to all of them. And thank you to all the other volunteers that make our tournaments possible. We are so lucky to have such a big network of volunteers who write tests for us, even people who live in different states, but at some point were associated with VASO. They will still write for us. They'll come run events for us and support us in other ways. A huge thank you to our volunteer coordinators, Lillian and Sue May, who help us get those day of volunteers, who this year we needed so many more of them because we were going back to like fully in-person regional tournaments. So parents, coaches, other community members that signed up to volunteer for a shift or 2. Some of those parents, coaches, and other people had to be event supervisors, and we thank you for giving your time to make those tournaments possible. It really is a huge effort. And especially as we continue to look at expansion, we're going to need more and more people to make this run as smoothly as we think that it did this past year. So just put a little plug in there that we do have a volunteer site or page on our website. So if you want to join us, you can either reach out through your school team, you can reach out to me, or through our website. Some other cool highlights and celebrations from this year. We have a new VASO scoring program, which if you went to any awards ceremonies this year, you got to see it in action. This was a huge effort on the part of Karen and Ian Emmons, and I absolutely love it. I worked with them to tell them what I wanted to see in the program from a presentation point of view, and they made it happen. It really streamlined so much for us in the score room, and so thank you to them for that huge effort. And I think it really improved the experience for our event supervisors and also the awards experience. We also wanted to highlight that we had a lot of other resources that our VASO community has continued to develop, including YouTube videos, trying to build playlists that can, be useful year to year with just like smaller chunked videos that can be, replaced as rules change. But for some of them more broad, like how to use a multimeter, how to, build a test stand, things like that. And what I think is really cool and worth highlighting specifically for VASO is we get a lot of views on these videos because we have great people who make great videos. So you can see that like for wind power, setting up like device testing, like our video got 4,700 views. We don't have 4,700 people doing wind power in Virginia, right? So that those are numbers that are reaching all states, competitors. And we know that they're watching because they recognize our people when they see them in person. So the picture in the bottom left, which I just think is so cute, is a competitor at the national tournament who recognized Karen Emmons from her wind power videos and asked for her autograph on his sweatshirt. So it's been so wonderful working with these people in Virginia and getting to share these resources widely nationally. And also, of course, we benefit from other people in the country making great resources, but it takes time for us to find those resources and, you know, post them on our website. So there's also some just like behind the scenes curation. And so I wanted to highlight that as well, that even if we're not actively making content for every single event, we are collecting it and posting it on our websites. And again, that's Karen and Ian and Kira, our social media person. So like, for example, on like all of our event pages on our website. Our website was a huge task last year. We did a complete overhaul and it's been amazing. But just the resource building of that, I think has really expanded this year, collecting links and sources and on occasion writing our own. So the one on the right here is something that we put together about how we run air trajectory in Virginia, which has also been useful for, you know, programs outside of VASO, but also, you know, invitationals. And as we look to more independent regionals, like it takes time for us to make this content, but it's worth it for us. And so wanted to highlight all of those hours that go into compiling all of those things. I mentioned our social media manager, Kira. I've highlighted a couple things from her already, but this has also continued to be a big effort and improvement, I think, with the strong posting that we have. So if you don't follow us on Instagram or any of other platforms, like you absolutely should. And she does a great job with it. So that article that I had shared about young women participating in Science Olympiad, like I first saw that through our social media channels that Kira had posted it. And then also, you know, sharing stuff from nationals, but also uniquely Virginia stuff. We post about divisions A, B, and C. You can see that one of the top posts right now, like more recent ones on our Instagram, is about the Division A events and that release. So she's done an amazing job with it. I love seeing all the stuff that she posts and would encourage you all to follow along as well, because sometimes there's like really timely stuff that she shares, and also just wonderful pictures about our students doing Science Olympiad. All right, so that's kind of the recap of last year and all the celebrations of the awesome things that this VASO community did. Let's talk a little bit about next year. What can next year look like? So we're going to start with events. So a look back at last season, just because I think it's interesting to see. We have our event participation. So this is Division B. You can see the percent, like this is the percentage of teams that skipped an event. So you can see the most and least skipped. So I think it's interesting that, you know, Write It, Do It, one of the least skipped events. I love that those are like like kind of an entry event that like you literally just show up and can do it with a pencil and a partner. And so it's a beloved event for a reason. And I think of those events when I talk to new teams about like, if you're not going to do every event, what are the ones that are the most accessible? So glad to see people doing that event. Some of our more skipped events, right? Fossils, ecology, can't judge a powder, some that, you know, take a little bit more time and preparation. But you know, love to see that that like average line. We've got most of our builds underneath that, which is great. And then Division C. Of course, I said the builds underneath that line for Division B. And then for C, those are the ones that were skipped more often. Again, not like surprising given the preparation. But our inquiry events down at the bottom there, Codebusters, Fair Me Questions, Write It, Do It, fan favorites. And again, the ones I think of as like, you're new to Science Olympiad, these are the most accessible, and would encourage you to do it. So that's last year. Let's look ahead to next year. Here is the national proposed slate of events for 2025. You might have already seen this if you follow our social media. Kira posted it. But this is a summary of B and C together. Notable information includes like the topics within the events that have rotating topics. So like, yeah, anatomy, the body systems, ecology, the biomes, the ones that's not listed on here, but I can share that because it was on the social media post. Chem lab, the topics are equilibrium and then chemical reactions and stoichiometry. But we have some new events coming in. So entomology is coming in to replace forestry. So you probably have some team members that might be very excited to talk about bugs. In chemistry, Candida powder is leaving and potions and poisons is coming in. We also have detector building leaving us after 5 years, and material science coming in Division C. In technology, flight is leaving and we are bringing back in helicopter. Roller coaster in Division B is leaving and Mission Possible is coming back in to the rotation. And then for our vehicle events, Scrambler is moving to Division B and Division C is now electric vehicle. In our inquiry events, we're saying goodbye to Fermi questions and fast facts for now, and bringing in metric mastery in Division B and bungee drop in Division C. So all the ones that are in bold are new or changes. This is a totally preliminary slate, but so nationals could make changes to it, though it's probably pretty firm. Just know that VASO may not run this slate exactly or in its entirety. We always meet as a group in July to talk about what we're going to do next season. So notably, we often choose some events to be states only. Those decisions will be made and announced around the time of the rule book being released nationally, which is September 3rd this year. So some priorities then, thinking ahead to our 2024-2025 season. I mentioned it before. Our keyword is expansion. This has been something we've been focused on for a while anyway, but it's definitely happening in a big way this year with that FCPS Title I initiative. Like I said, we don't know how those schools are going to distribute between divisions A and B, but we know that there's going to be growth in both. Along with that, that's made us really have to think about expanding the support that we give to new teams and coaches. We're starting that obviously with the new coaches meeting for Division A and looking to do more of that in B and C. And then even though Fairfax County is Northern Virginia, we want to continue to expand our reach and engagement outside of that area to more schools and students with that outreach initiative, with trying to, use the teams that we have in those areas, especially Southwest Virginia, to drum up more interest from neighboring schools. And of course, we know that all of this work is going to mean expanding our volunteer pool to support more tournaments. We know already we're going to need more tournaments in Division A. We don't yet know what's going to happen in Division B and C, but we know we're going to need more people doing more science with us. All right, so wanted to just open it up that if you have any thoughts or questions, you are more than welcome to reach out to me. You can access our contact us form through our website or email me at statedirector@virginiaso.org. We're always interested to hear thoughts from others, especially those of you that have been competing with us, and what changes you might want to see or what you really liked about a season. So yeah, let us know. Now we're going to turn it over to Karen Emmons, who is our treasurer for the VASO board. She's going to give us a little picture of the financial status of VASO.
Hello, everyone. I encourage you, I know sometimes people's eyes glaze over when we get to the numbers part, but I encourage you to hang in there with us. I'll try to be efficient. These are our almost year-end results. Our fiscal year ends on June 30th, so it's not complete. We anticipate about another $300 of expenses before we close out the year. You can see that actually we budgeted for a loss this year. We had a little extra that we had made from a previous year, and we were budgeting to spend that out. And then to our pleasant surprise, we didn't end up at a loss. That happened primarily for two reasons. We had an unexpected one-time company donation of about $2,000. And then we also had one facility that we did not anticipate it compass the costs. And again, we think that that's a one-time situation, but what a blessing and a celebration for us. And that would have, been several $1,000s. So if those two things hadn't happened, we actually would have been just about pretty much as we budgeted. But we do pay attention to the fact that if we have a little bit of an overage and we want it, we will budget for a negative in the year. So this is why we did that. And so you may see that again next year, but we can't budget too big a negative, obviously. So I guess that's all on that one. Can we go to the next slide? But if you looked at our intake, our income, you'll see that registration fees from teams do not cover are not the sole, though they're the biggest part of our income. We rely heavily on sponsors and donors, and we include the donations that we consider that are coming from from universities because they're comping us space or giving it to us at a reduced cost, or the huge amount of volunteer labor that may come in from an organization too. We honor and respect that, include that in part of our sponsorships. But these sponsorships are really important to us. They mean that we can keep the costs from rising too much for teams. And I would actually like to encourage people, if you work for a company that does outreach, that does sponsorships, it would be great if if you love SO, it would be marvelous if you checked in to see what the procedure might be for helping us get in with a company. When we go and talk to these companies like Aurora, Northrop Grumman, and whatever, they're very excited by the work we do, but we can't cold call them. They rely very much, what we have been discovering is they rely very much on their own internal workforce to point them in the direction of where they'd like to see their money given. So if you have any information on that, if you'd like to help us with that, it would be a real gift. We'll do, once you help us figure out how to get our foot in the door, we'll do all the hard work after that. And you can contact me or Emily. That would be a marvelous addition or help for us. Next one, please. So the financial challenges for 2025. We have this wonderful challenge. We talked about expansion. That's the words you'll take away from today. They've been saying 40 plus teams. I think we're going to be at 48 and probably more than that teams. And it'll be many more of that if any of these new schools field multiple teams, which says to us that we're going to need 2 to 3 additional tournaments, which is a lot. And that means it requires more of everything, more space, more, we have more space that we have to rent, more awards, more supplies, more volunteer t-shirts, all of these kinds of things. More is the operative word here. So that's going to be one of our challenges, an exciting challenge, one we are embracing and wholeheartedly working on. There's the general economic inflation, and I know you all are seeing that as much as we are. Literally, within the last 3 weeks, I've gotten 4 emails that talk about how we're going to have to pay more for this and this and this and this, more for our post office box, and more for this and more for this, and I'm seeing it in my private life as well. And we all know how much the cost of food has gone up. Just everything costs more. And as I said before, our registrations don't completely cover the costs, and the business sponsors particularly offset that. It's amazing, but it has tended to be they're feeling the press too, and their contributions have not been increasing with inflation. For example, our Northrop Grumman grant, which has been spectacular for the last few years, we anticipate seeing that again, but they aren't going to increase it, and it won't cover all the new Title I schools. So these are all the challenges that we're going to be facing. And even though we were a little positive this year, I think that we're going to have to expect a fee increase for next year. The good news about that is back in the pandemic, so when 2020 rolled around and we had to go virtual, we lowered our fees significantly to account for reduced costs, to try to help teams, and we did not raise them as we came out of the pandemic. So this is actually going to be our first real raise since we lowered the fees for the pandemic. But we will be discussing it very much in our retreat this summer and trying to not make it be a burden for teams. Does anybody have any questions on the financial challenges or issues or numbers that you saw? I'll turn it back over to you, Emily.
Great. Thank you, Karen. So what's coming up? Karen kind of mentioned that some of these things we're going to talk about, including fees and, our tournament registration. These are things that we talk about as a board when we meet in July. So we block off a day, we try to plan out as much as we can about our season. So a lot of those decisions have not yet been made, but we use our summer to do that so we can have it ready for when school starts again back in August. So we will have a virtual kickoff meeting to begin that 2025 season. For A, B, and C, we will have, kickoff events to welcome in new and returning coaches and get schools excited about the season ahead. I did mention already that the National BC Rulebook is available September 3rd. We will then shortly thereafter announce what VASO is choosing to do at our regional events, our state events, any changes that we might make. And BC registration then will open in September. We expect Division A registration. The intent form is already up. We please, if you are going to be fielding Division A team, we encourage you to fill that form out. We want to know what lies ahead for us with all of those big expansion numbers in Division A. And then things about forms and payment will come after our board retreat. But they're on an earlier timeline because our Division A tournaments are in October and November. So we plan to hit the ground running with the new school year with Division A and then BC to follow starting in September. So what can you do until then? First, obviously, enjoy your summer. I know many of you are teachers, coaches. Obviously, you guys put in a lot of time as well, even if you're not a teacher, to do all the things that you have done for your team. So please enjoy your summer. You deserve that rest. Something I'm looking forward to a little bit as well. Can't lie. Also, please share your thoughts, again, via email with me if you have anything that you want to share or talk about. I usually send out like a year-end thing for coaches as well, which I may still do, but kind of keeping it more informal this year, with just whatever's on your mind, whether you're thinking you're going to be a new coach fielding a team, or if you've been doing this for a while and want to get more involved in other VASO stuff or have some thoughts and ideas, reach out. I would love to chat. And then I mentioned a few times, please subscribe to our social media channels. We are active on a variety of platforms with some great content. Check out our website. We do update as we know more things or develop more things, even through the summer, particularly after our board retreat mid-July. The volunteer interest form is there. If you're an alum, we have an alum volunteer interest form. So please reach out. But we are looking forward to another great year ahead of us in 24-25 with a lot of new teams. And so it's going to be different, but different is good, right? This expansion will be good. Right. So through all of that, right, I want to end with our commitment to you all and to this STEM community. We are committed to bringing STEM enrichment and Science Olympiad to as many Virginia school communities as we can in all parts of Virginia. I feel like that has been really highlighted in today's annual report. We are always mindful, or try to be, about like our participants, their families, our coaches, our schools, and all of our volunteers in all plans that we make, particularly with what expanding tournament needs means. We commit to timely communication for your team planning and using all resources, email, our website, our social media, to communicate that with you. And when we do make big decisions, like, for example, our expected increase in registration costs, being transparent about that decision and about our thinking and, you know, what goes into that. Trying to prepare you all with early information and context. And so that means trying to adopt a budget and fees that we think best reflect our anticipated costs, and just prepping you all now for what that will likely mean for 24-25. But thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you had a great year with us, when we're looking forward to next year. So have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody, and we'll see you in 24-25.